So quick.
Are we, is it working? All right. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the December Stockton Astronomical Society meeting here. This is incredible. I can't believe it's December already, and we're just about done with the year. Holidays are coming up. I have no idea where the year went, but it's been a good year for most of us. So I hope everyone else has had a good year. Tonight, we're going to do show and tell, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But anyway, the most important thing right now I want to talk about is that in January, we were having the installation dinner. Jerry's found a really good caterer. And Tim, I guess, are you able to show the Tim's paperwork on that? So it's just a reiteration of what was in the Stockton newsletter for the club. And so, as you all know,
let me share it. For a second.
Sure.
Give me a moment.
Okay, so if you look at that, if you haven't seen it already, we're going to have it at the new place over there, which is the San Joaquin County of Education office. And it's the most westerly building, I believe, of all of them in the whole complex. And it's really nice. It's set up beautifully, and it'll be warm. It'll be safe. There's lit parking. Everything's pretty good about the whole thing. And I hope all of you can make it. And so God bless his soul, but Jerry, his wife, introduced us to a caterer that has given us a reasonable price, and the food is supposed to be very good. And so we're going to have tri-tip chicken rice pilaf. You can read it, but a lot of good stuff. We're going to try to get a cake or something for dessert, and we'll see how that all goes. But it's only $20, and so we'll have coffee and as much other things if we can on that. So the important thing is the caterer needs to know how many people are coming. And if you do not pay by that time and you show up, we won't have food for you. So it's really important that you do have your check-in on the right time so we can place the order for the number of dinners. I hope that makes sense to everybody, but this is really important. And I, for one person, really miss all of us getting together and just enjoying ourselves, talking, catching up on things, enjoying after the holiday spirits, and just having a good time. Speaking of spirits, there will be no alcohol allowed in there. Sorry, guys. But there will be coffee, and we'll try to bring drinks, water, and maybe sodas and stuff like that, carbonated sodas, whatever on that. So with that in mind, I think that's my spiel. Jerry, do you want to say anything, or is that? I've covered everything you've written in there. So this was mindless for me. I didn't have to do anything. Just be aware that it's from 6:30 until 8:30. We need to get things moving once they're in there, because by 8:30, the janitors want to go home. And we should be pretty much ready to start cleaning up by about 8:20 or so. And it should be okay. Yeah.
It might help a little bit.
So the,
Make sure to turn on.
I think Jeff just did.
Okay.
So you might notice a difference in the addresses between the address I listed here, and I think Jeff listed an address elsewhere, or Rebecca did. The other address is this listed is the address of the county office. The address here, the 2707 Trans World, that is the address of the building where we will actually be in. And it's the Wentworth building of the San Joaquin County office. So we'll have a map of the location for you in the January newsletter.
Okay. All right. Very good. I guess we can go ahead and start the show and tell.
Those announcements there, when you got that slide.
Oh, yeah, there are. Now I should get my eyes checked. Okay, so on the 10th of December, Jeff's having an ATM, which is this coming Saturday, just day after tomorrow. Highway 4 Star Party, if weather allows, new moon on the 22nd. High altitude star party, we're going to be in about 6 feet of snow up there, so I can't wait. That's probably not going to happen. And then, of course, is the meeting we've been promoting here. And that's the general meeting with the installation dinner. And we'll have a few new members here, which is really nice. And so the club will go on in spite of me, and I will be in good shape. Okay, Jeff, do you want to show that slide from last night? Guys, I don't know if you guys are aware that there was an occultation of Mars last night, and it was spectacular for those. So you want to do it, Friday? No, you guys are going. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and give it a go.
Y'all done it?
I'm all done.
Hi, guys and girls. Our first show and teller tonight, and it's so nice of me to not tell him he's first, is Bob Jarrett. Are you ready to show us?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll let you describe your project for you.
Well, my project is to rebuild my 14.25-inch telescope. Here, let me share my screen here. And I can show you. Oh, the host is disabled screen sharing, so
I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
no problem.
You should be able to do it now, Bob.
Okay. So this is the old 14.25-inch telescope. It's a Mark and Texar and I built this, oh gosh, back when we were in junior college, too long ago, 1978-ish or so. It's a beast. I'm in the process of designing CAD to rebuild it. When we first built this, we made it like a tank. This is three layers of plywood down below. We got double thickness plywood on the sides of the rocker and double thickness plywood on the cradle boards. So this does not flex at all. It's a very solid telescope. Right here on the side, I'm showing the moonlight focuser. What we originally had actually was a Meade focuser. And we had that mounted from the inside. So it was looking pretty low profile and kind of cool. The ring on the end too is mounted on the inside, the support ring. This is a 4.25-inch. This was a kit that we got, and it's in the process. I'm trying to repaint it and get it ready for the new scope. So that's why it looks kind of funny. But let's see. Let me show you what it's going to look like. This is what I'm planning. This is the new version. This is in CAD. Again, see the focuser on the top. We're putting the moonlight on it again.
Bob, we don't see your.
We don't see your CAD drawing.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. How do I change that?
Do you have more than one monitor?
No, I don't. Why don't I do
Okay.
that? What if bear
Or
with
maybe-
me.
Or maybe stop sharing and reshare?
What happens if I close that? Share this up. Yeah, ask me to share again. I have to. Whoops. No? Let me stop sharing and we'll have to re-grab it.
You're not sharing on our side.
Okay. Okay, here, I got it now. Here we go. Eureka?
Yep.
Hey, there
we go.
There it is. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like. This is actually a flex rocker in the bottom. I'll show you that in a minute, but you've got the, standard otherwise truss mount. I've got 2 tail rads on it right now. I'm not sure which one I'm going to keep, maybe both. We'll see. The 4.25 is still mounted down here. Like I said, the axes are the same. We can rotate this way. It has the regular rocker down here. Although this is the flex part, but the regular rocker goes this way, rotates in this direction, and that's the flex part of it. And then this rocker does the other motion right there. Otherwise, for And we can rotate it around. It zips around that way. But the if I go to, let me go up to the top here. Oh yeah. I'm not professional with this program, but I do get my way around. We're looking at the top here. You can see we've got the standard, and this is will be an Astro Systems piece, and slider for the different filter slider. Again, outside there. We look down below, you can see how the rings work down here. And then the rings are slotted down into this capture system so the telescope doesn't slide sideways. And I've got all these nice little cap screws on there. I think it looks kind of cool. See how the flex actually works. Square up there. And so it rocks back and forth. When I highlight it, you can see it stops here. I'll bring this up this way. And then we'll take a look down inside and you can see there's the Teflon pad that the rocker's riding on is right here. And there'll also be Teflon on the sides for the back and forth motion so that it doesn't drag on the sidewalls. And when you look at it, normally I don't have the stop, so to speak. It wouldn't be able to go that far. But these are the stops, these parts down here. And and I bring this out this way, you can see there's the stop right there. So normally, it wouldn't be able to move. It would only be able to go that far and then would hit that stop. You look down at the stop. There they are right there. That's that little stop right there. So that's how it stops the motion. So it won't be able to do something, even go that far. And I can rotate this in all directions, but in reality, it's only going to be able to go about that far, that way, and about that far that way. So that's how that's going to work.
How many degrees do you think that is?
I think it's about 8 degrees. I gave it about 8. Yeah, I gave it about 8 degrees.
So eight right and 8 left.
Yep.
All right. So you got 16
Yep.
basically.
Yes. No, actually, no, the other way around. It's less than, it's 8 total.
Oh, 8
Plus or minus 4.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The question, what is the benefit of the lateral rocking?
Mel Bartels gave a presentation. He had his alt mount. So when you go to the zenith, you can not only go this way, but you can also go that way rather than trying to torque your scope around.
Oh, okay. It's prevent that.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you're at the zenith, you can actually go back and forth this way.
Question for you as well. And
Yeah.
then
Do you plan to put a drive system on that? Because it does make it more challenging.
No, I do not. Not at this point. No, I wasn't thinking about that.
There's a
I'll
way
probably-
around it, Mel was saying, but I think this is more of a comfort one, yeah.
Yeah, this is just for comfort. I'll probably put it on a Ponce mount at some point if I can figure out how to do that. But other than that, no, I saw that. I watched that presentation. I said, oh, that's just too cool. I got to try that.
What's your focal ratio?
This is an F6. Yeah, it's a 14 1/4. It's from Coulter, F6. And it has one of those Coulter diagonals in it too, Jeff.
Well, not for long. I noticed that your focuser is at the top. Is that intentional? Did you want it out the side?
It's not on the top. It's actually at 45 degrees or so. Here,
You're right. I visualized that incorrectly.
yeah. Sometimes I have a heck of here. Let's watch this. There we go. There we go. The cat spinning is weird. There's no doubt about it. You want to feel drunk? I can do it.
Thought we were back at that Dead concert, Bob.
Hey, you should see what it does. It has a rebuild error in it already, so I don't know what else to do. The program is really particular at times. I've got way too many mates in it and whatnot, so, but it's still a lot of fun. Any other questions at this time?
Yes. So I've noticed with Eric's Daub and now yours, the rods that extend from the back to the front. What is the primary benefit of Daubs that are built in this manner?
Oh, this is just ease of movement, taking it down, putting it up, taking it to different places. Fits in a smaller package, that kind of thing. Looks cooler by far.
It does look cool, yeah.
The part I like, I really like how this part turned out with the rods going right in between.
Yeah.
Into this, with these two side straps up. I was just like, wow, they actually fit. And I was like, that's just too cool. I love it.
It also prevents, when you have a tube, heat inside the tube will crawl along the top like a chimney, which disrupts your optical.
Definitely.
clarity.
Yeah. These are go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what are the 4 things on the very bottom of the base? So, like on the 4 corners, what are those?
Oh, these are wheels. These are actually wheels. These will spin. The whole telescope, if you look when I turn this, rotates on the ground board. This is the ground board down here. It's round. So the whole thing just spins around on that. Those are going to be basically line to line the wheel to the ground board so that it'll spin.
So you're not using like a central bolt up the center. You're doing it.
No,
like down there.
not at all. Not at all. I'll show all the pieces in a minute.
Have you designed the cell at all?
I'll show that in a minute too. I've got it all. I've got the cell design. This is basically designed. I've had it for a little while, and then I saw that, I saw Mel's lecture, and then Jeff showed some cool stuff last week with those wiffles. I'm like, I got to do that too. So I did that, made that change. So it's sort of evolving. I'm not sure when I'm going to build it. Maybe sometime in March or April, I'll start to build it, something like that when the weather gets really good and I got plenty of time all day long to play with it. But it's still kind of in an evolution, but I like the way it looks now. So let me show you the different pieces then.
Hey, Bob, what are you going to use for the upper optical tube?
This right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the material that you get from TAP plastic. The ABS, it's a thin ABS material from TAP. These guys here are just 3/4 inch aluminum struts here. And
Comes in a cylinder?
no, it's flat. It's flat. It'll curve around though. It's really thin. Yeah, I'm planning on putting there'll be grooves actually that it'll fit into on each of these wood rings. Can't quite see it.
Or are you asking about the side? You want to know what the side's made out of?
Yeah.
That's just.
Did I misunderstand it? This is this part right here?
Correct.
You were correct.
Would you explain what that does?
What does? Excuse me.
Why you would need it there? Why not just eliminate it?
Oh, that's just a block light. I mean, right here, your diagonal is going to be sitting right here. So that just closes that all up. No stray light comes in, bounces off your diagonal. It'll end up being, I'll put some felt material on the back here. Also to make light, just to help scatter light if it does hit that. May end up doing the whole thing that way. We'll see. Okay.
I've actually seen designs where the whole upper OTA can rotate. So if you want to pull the eyepiece lower, like down toward the bottom of the scope, that you can do that. But that's not necessary, but an extra thing that you might think of adding.
Say that again. Move the eyepiece which way?
Rotating upper tube.
Yeah, rotate upper tube assembly. So imagine the bottom, the bottom ring. So okay. So they'll sandwich 2 rings together where one rotates against the other one.
Like a lazy Susan.
Yeah, like a lazy Susan.
That would be interesting.
Go ahead and engineer that, Bob.
Okay, down here, and that way I could actually rotate this all the time.
Get the out and that.
Well, what they've done is they've put like little grooves in it, but
Yeah.
not completely around, obviously, because otherwise you'd have, you couldn't hold the inner ring, but so they'll have like a groove maybe 2 or 3 inches long, and then it just rotates in that groove, but then it'll come to a stop.
Yeah, if it's anything metal up there, that's gonna add a lot of weight to that end though.
Yeah.
So counterweight is could start to become a problem. Oh, I could throw some weight in this box. I got plenty of room. I'll consider that, but I don't know. That's a good one. Let's see. So let's go from any other questions right now, or I'm gonna just go from the ground up on the pieces.
Yeah, just real quick, Bob. Out of curiosity, how much does this entire thing weigh?
I haven't weighed it yet. I do have the ability. I'll show you something later, and we'll look at the weight of the tube assembly.
Okay.
We can kind of figure it from there. But it's all the marine grade plywood, so it's definitely heavy. I mean, that stuff is heavy. It's dense plywood. So I will. That's a good question. Actually, I'll have to check that out. One of those things. How much is it going to weigh? I do know it's going to fit into the camper, so that's a good thing. All right, so let's look at the ground board here. This was the easiest part by far to design. That's it. It's just a ring of wood. It's got, the feet on the bottom, and I got the Teflon pads above the feet, and that's it. There's nothing else going on there. So that was a pretty quick part to design, and I kind of like that one. Close that off, and let's look at the. Go to the rocker here. Okay, this is our flex rocker. And now you can really see how you got your Teflon pad, and then this acts as the stop for the upper rocker. The same thing is identical on both sides. So, you can kind of see how that rocker can swing back and forth in here, and it hits up against this and it hits up against that. And then otherwise, I've got the little Teflon on the side here. That'll be Teflon. You can see I have a little more CAD work. I've got that all one piece of Teflon, but that's easy to fix. But really, again, it's a big ring on the bottom, and then you built this square feature on the top to capture your rocker, and then have somewhere to put these wheels, really, where those wheels have to go on. But I copied just right from Mel's page. I just looked at what he did. He had a lot of drawings on all the different scopes, so it was pretty easy to go through it. Oh, okay, that's how that works. All right, cool. So I give him a lot of credit for this design, really. Here's the main rocker, the one that every Dobsonian has.
I'm not trying to direct you, but we do have 7 other presenters.
Okay, well then I'll just wrap this up. I'll just go to the guts then. Everybody kind of knows what that looks like. Let's look at this guy all the way. He's regular Dobsonian stuff. We're looking down. Let's look at the mirror cell down below. The whiffle on one side, the whiffle on the other side. Capture point on the top. If we it's really quick here. Yeah, I know. I gotta rebuild it right there. I'll delete this for a second. You can get a look at the mirror cell in here with the mirror. That's the center line of the mirror right here, and the whiffles are lining up with that. And we'll take a quick look down here. I'll open up the mirror assembly. And you can see it's got 8 points, whiffles. Those are all riding in there. Here's the collimation area for the collimation bolts in the back. So big hole for get a little wind on the mirror, hopefully, or air flow at least through there. But that's it. So I can talk for longer, obviously, but that's it in a nutshell.
That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Michael. What?
Yeah, any more questions? before you guys go on?
I don't have any now.
Was there a question before? Okay, Bob, that was awesome. Thank you very much. Rosemary, if you're ready, he's gonna stop
Thank
his
you.
screen sharing. And then we'll be able to have Rosemary tell us what's going on here.
Rosemary, you're muted, by the way.
Are you ready, Rosemary, for presenting? You're muted. There you go.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Are you ready for me to show?
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Okay. For all of those here, these are the belongings of Trevor Atkinson. And I am ready to find homes for them. And so I have a whole laundry basket full of books, and I'll show you a few of them. And then I have a spotting scope, which I can hold up for you to see. Oh, my background thing is crazy. I don't know how to release it.
Must be an X-ray spotting scope.
Let me see if I can get it. Well, I guess I can't quite do that, but anyway, it's a spotting scope that needs to find a new home. And this is the Backyard Astronomer's Guide, a book of the universe, the far planets, the stars, looking at the earth. I don't think you can really see because of my background. I don't know how to turn it off. So is there any value in my showing you the different books, or just letting you know that they're here and they're for the taking?
Well, I think that people who are interested will be able to contact you
Okay.
and maybe arrange for an examination or a pickup. And if you
Okay.
have, if you're not very successful with that, we always have a donation table at the installation dinner. And what's ever
Yes.
left over, we can always set on that table.
Okay, I would like for someone to have these beautiful books, and I'm closing up shop here, and I need to find homes for them.
You might consider donating them to Friends of the Library.
Well, I know I can do that, but I thought since these are so particularly astronomy books, that some people might want to have a first crack at them.
Spotting scope, I might be interested.
Okay, I'm gonna let you tell her, Bill.
I might be interested in that spotting scope. This is Bill Lytle.
And who is talking?
Bill Lytle.
Oh, okay. I can give you my email address and you can let me know. We can talk about it further.
I can give it to him. He's right here, and I'll give him your phone number and email address.
Okay. So unless there's something else that you would like me to show, I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn off my backgrounds, or I would be able to show them to you better.
So if you still have some of those by the time the installation dinner happens, I'll stop by your place and pick things up and take it to the installation, because I know you told me earlier that you didn't think you'd be able to make it to the dinner.
That's right. So
Okay.
yeah, that would be very helpful.
So meanwhile, I'll give Bill your email and phone number, and if anybody else is interested, I can do that as well.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Rosemary. And also, Rosemary Atkinson is the wife of Trevor Atkinson, who was a cornerstone of our society for decades and was editor in every other office imaginable. And he left us, was that 3 years ago?
Oh, no, 7 years ago.
Oh, my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long already.
Oh, I know it has been.
Okay, well, we miss him dearly, and whoever gets that material will be very appreciative of it.
Good. Good.
Okay, well, thank you, Rosemary. So Ed, I'm going to pass the torch to you now for the Sky Mountain Outdoor Education Center.
Yeah, we're just going to give you a brief update on what's been going on at Sky Mountain. When our involvement with them started last year, things started out great, but then they went flat. They had some real growing pains up there. Right before they were going to start in January, you may recall we had that big storm come in, and they got about 5 feet of snow dumped on them in about 2 days. And that really brought them to a halt there for a minute. Then the COVID spike in January, and that slowed them down. Then there were cancellations. They had trouble recruiting naturalists up there. I think they only started with about half of the naturalists they wanted to. And then somewhere along the line, they lost their program director. He quit and went someplace else. So like I said, they had some real serious growing pains up there. A couple of months ago, Jeff wanted to find out just what exactly they were doing in astronomy, if anything, because they hadn't had any contact with us. And he contacted them and got into contact with new people who are running the program now. Lisa Gilmore and Tamara, what's Tamara's last name, Jeff? I can't remember.
Gilmore?
Tamara, what's her last name?
Lisa, I believe her last name is Gilmore.
Well, Lisa's Gilmore, but anyway, there's two people.
Oh,
up
he
there
said
running
Tamara?
Yeah.
I don't know Tamara's last name.
Okay. Anyway, there are two people up there now running the program. And from what I gathered, talking to Jeff, things look a little more optimistic. And so he's going to go into some detail about what he's been doing up there with them and what we've got planned. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Ed. So Ed and I came up with 2 solar projection scopes, and Ed had some covers made, and then I came up with I think it was 8-inch XT Dobsonian, and Ed had some covers made for that. So we made a trip up there and we donated this equipment to them and showed them how to use it. And at the time, we noticed that they couldn't look at anything at high power because the sky moves. And so I told her I'd keep my eyes out for something like a C8 with a clock drive on it that would suffice for that. Well, Ed popped up to the rescue again and said, you know what? I've got this Meade 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. I'm willing to donate it to Sky Mountain. And so I took it home and serviced it. And oh my goodness, it was an excellent specimen. So they are getting a wonderful telescope. And so Ed and I came up with a transportation system for it, where they could wheel it out, use it, wheel it back, so they wouldn't have to disassemble it, reassemble it, and carry it out, eventually breaking it. So I'm going to call on Eric to grab 2 videos, and I don't care what order they come in. So Eric is going to show a couple videos here of Ed demonstrating.
Not that.
So this is Ed, and this is a telescope. And Eric, right after you click the go button, kill it right there, just freeze it right there. Awesome. So this is the 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain fork mount with a wedge on our roller device with a handle so they can roll it in the gym and roll it out of the gym. It's got a power supply and a battery and a recharging system. And it's gonna really do the trick for their higher power planetary views. Okay, Eric, I'll let you go ahead and roll the video here. So this is a demonstration of how it moves around. It's quite stable. And so that was that video. The next video, Eric, the next video is going to be how we can stabilize it once it's set up out in their little platform area. They have a really nice facility up there. So those are the wheels that rolls around now, but it could jiggle around. So these wheel chocks will go on and stabilize the wheels. And even though it can jiggle, you know, a 1/4 inch here and there, it stabilizes it well enough for people to use. Do a real quickie polar alignment on it and use it. And then when they're done, they just pull them back off and roll the thing back into the gym. All right, thank you, Eric, for those videos. The next thing, Eric, if you don't mind, is if you can show the picture of the 3 telescopes. It's from the newsletter right there. It's from the newsletter. So a lot of you have already seen
So
it.
give me a second. to share.
Actually, just like that's fine.
I'm not sharing it though.
Oh, I see. Well, it's good for us. The heck with everybody else. I don't like to share. Mine.
Okay.
Are we sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, so on the left are the 3 telescopes. 2 of them are solar projection scopes, and one of them is a Dobson in. I said an 8-inch. That doesn't look like an 8-inch. I can't remember. Yeah, I think.
No, it's 8-inch.
Oh, it is an 8-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
8-inch.
And so this is actually on my street in Lathrop. And unfortunately, the dust cover on the telescope has been evaporated somewhere. So they're on the hunt for that. Ed spent quite a bit of dough on getting us. I'm hoping that they find him. And then the picture on the right is just a close-up picture of the bottom of the telescope, the Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. So Ed and I are going to make another trip. We're going to take that telescope up, show them how to use it. And one other item is that they have contacted me recently asking for, hey, what kind of information can you give us to help the kids with? So they have re-inspired their interest in astronomy a little bit more. So I'm optimistic, but it's a cautious optimism. How's that? Ed, do you have anything else to throw in here?
Well, that's basically it. I feel the same way you do. I'm cautiously optimistic. These 2 women that are running the program now seem to be much more on top of things. And I hope we get something going.
I think the potential here is outstanding, not only for education and enlightenment for the kids, but eventually one of these kids will either have an interest enough to seek us out, or will have interest that later on will develop into an interest. And so astronomy isn't the prime focus of that facility, but I think either immediate or delayed, there will be some astronomy interest that develops in these kids. So I'm looking forward to our relationship with those guys.
Also,
Okay.
just one more thing, Jeff. I think Jeff and I both agree that we're going to have to keep after them to keep this, if we want to get this thing solidly going up there. Once we can get it entrenched in their program, I think we can let up. But I think Jeff's initiative here a couple of months ago and his follow-ups has kept them going. And I think we're going to have to keep doing that until this thing gets on more solid ground.
On doing 3 to 4 visits a year there for maintenance and cleaning and servicing the telescopes, and just seeing how they're doing and evaluating whether our commitment with them will diminish or enhance. So it's dynamic, and we'll see how it goes. What's the altitude up there, Ed? 5,000?
I think it's around 5,600.
Yeah, it must be 5,600 because it's about 10 miles further east than Blue Canyon. I know Blue Canyon is 5,280. Yeah, Immigrant Gap is the official address.
It's hard to
Okay,
get to. When they have snow up there, you can't drive to the camp. They have to come get you on a snowcat with some kind of I haven't seen it yet, but some kind of a big rig that they put all the kids in to drive them all back. And they park the buses up there somewhere off of I-80. And like I said, drive on this snowcat out to pick you up and then take you back in again. So it's quite an adventure just getting in there.
Is it a winter only operation?
No, year round. But in the winter, they have a diesel snowcat and a sled trailer that'll hold a good 30 kids. And so the bus drops them off out there by the gate, and then they snowcat them into the camp. I mean, to me, that would be fun.
No, I was just thinking that, if you're looking to spur interest in astronomy, schedule a few outreach where we bring up the scopes and actually show them how to work the scopes.
Well, you see, excuse me, but that was the original plan.
Right,
when we were
that's
first,
right.
when we were first contacted by them last fall, the idea was that since their program is in two parts, one part starting in January and ending in May, and the second part starting in August and going through November, and each part setting up with a new set of naturalists, that we would go up there twice a year and do just exactly what you're suggesting. We would go up there and train them how to use the scopes, because you were getting a new group of people every 6 months or so. But like I said, that all just went flat. They never invited us up to train the naturalists, and things just went quiet. And like I said, for these various reasons, I think that's why we weren't contacted. But like I also said, since Jeff has contacted them and they've shown this interest again, and asked questions, and they apparently are using the equipment at some point, some places. So like I say, I think we just have to keep after them and see how it goes.
It's a roller coaster ride. Ed was asked, hey, can you come up with some kind of stuff? And so Ed put a lot of time and energy into these things where we could really do some stuff with the kids. Then when we got up there, it's like, well, no, we're only going to be doing, 5 seconds on each kid on this. The rest of this is biology experience. So that kind of knocked us back. But then they've shown an interest in, hey, we kind of do want more information. So we don't know where it's going. This could be the kind of thing where we're able to give them some highlights, or it might be the thing where it fizzles away. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
To be continued.
to be continued.
Okay, Ed, thank you very much. Thank you for all the energy you put into this, by the way.
Sure.
Okay, the next speaker is, okay, clap. Yes, sir, I wasn't thinking about the whole clap thing there. Okay, the next
Who you
speaker
clapping
is our handsomest guest. Of course, that would be me. And so I heard some. Boy, I tell you, that was mean. Okay, so I've got two things. One of them is last night's Mars occultation, and the second thing is some improvements in my shop. So, Eric, I'm ready for the contact 1 and 2 video. So I was at Mike Lavieri's last night. He and I observed the Mars occultation, and I was looking through one scope and trying to record the event in the other scope. So the scope I recorded it in is my 24-inch f3.7. And what worked out the best was with an 8-inch aperture mask. So it ended up being, with the 2 power ball, it ended up being f22. But I did get the contacts 1 and 2 event fairly well. So Eric is going to put that video on here.
So I didn't see it over here.
Since I shot this, I've seen a lot of people online who shot the event, and it was really fun. I've watched a lot of occultations. This is my first Mars occultation.
Who else saw it?
Doug, Bill, Tim, Paul, and Jerry all raising their hands. Jason
I did.
raising his hand.
Bob, I
Slacker.
saw it.
Okay, so
Last
this
night.
is- yeah, go ahead and run it. So this is live speed here, and it's actually pretty slick to watch go in. Watching a planet go behind the moon is a lot of fun. Watching a star go behind the moon is a lot of fun, but a planet's totally different. One thing that's always blown me away is how neutral in color the moon is. I mean, it's just absent of color.
It didn't make any impact though.
No dust got blown up when it hit the moon. It did not form a crater when it hit the moon either. So I've got the sound off because nobody wants to listen to me, and here I am talking. Yeah. So it took 31 seconds to dive in. So we don't need to see my other video of it coming up because I had issues on the other end of this thing, but it looked like that only backwards and on the other side. Just play it backwards. Yeah, backwards. Backwards and turn it upside down.
That's great.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
So you don't want to see it?
We don't need to see it coming out the other side because I had I made a mistake on my clock drive and so it's ugly. Never mind.
It was an earthquake.
What was that?
It was an earthquake.
An earthquake.
Oh, okay.
Check, yeah.
All right. So the other thing I have is the 2 changes I'm making in my shop. So I'll let Eric grab those pictures I shot to him. I have 2 machines, one I'm building and one I'm repairing. And I don't know how to start talking because I don't know which picture he's going to show first.
Why did it open up behind him? What happened? Oh. Share this guy out.
Okay, there we go. That'll work. Are we sharing already?
Not yet.
Okay.
Please stand by.
The problem is screens hide other screens. There you go.
I'll let you tell me when go time is.
Okay.
It's go time.
Okay, so this is Old Yeller, my mirror making machine. It looks terrible here because I've been wearing away the paint. So what's going on is the surface is not perfectly level and perfectly flat. It was close. And so I would put a carpet on there and rotate the glass, but it's a lot better if it's milled flat, like a machinist's flat. So the jig on the top there that's made out of wood with the 2 barbell weights and the router, that's my jig for running the router as I rotate the machine. And as I rotate the machine and move that thing, it generates a flat surface. And halfway through it, my router decided to take a dump. So I fixed the brushes and then the switch junked on me. So I'm waiting for a switch to come. So that's what it looks like halfway through the job. When I get done with that, I'm going to put an aluminum plate on there and mill it again, ultra smooth with aluminum plate. And then it'll be ready for being more of a machinist's type of flat and level. So that's one project. And now he's going to go to my other picture. There we go. This is my new machine. I like bright colors so little kids can play with it. This is called a continuous lapper. And I've shown this before, but I've gone quite a bit further. So all the big stuff on the top is just my dust protection system. And Mikey came over yesterday and helped me cut the plexiglass that's going on the top of that. So what happens is as that granite rotates with pitch on it, those conditioners, which in this picture are upside down, will rotate and make the pitch perfectly flat. And so the flat optics that lay inside there will be made flat by that flat pitch. And then I'll have a presentation on this someday in the next year or 2. But that's what I've been doing in my shop is.
So the gray circle base here rotates around, but these other smaller circles, the conditioners stay in one spot.
The pitch will rotate. That big 40-inch piece of granite will have pitch on it. It rotates. And then those round conditioners will also rotate, but stay in the same place. So they will auto rotate because the pitch is making it rotate.
I see.
But they are stationary. And so that's where the workstation
They'll
will be.
rotate, they'll rotate around like this, but
Correct.
the whole thing will stay in that spot.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's going to be very slow when it's working. When I first train this to be flat, it'll probably run about 6 RPM for a few weeks. Then once it gets really flat, and I'm actually making optics with it, it'll probably run maybe 1 RPM, somewhere in that area. It's going to be very slow. That'll keep it smooth. And then that dial down on the bottom left there, I can position those conditioners further in to make the lap concaver and make the lap and the mirrors more convex, or can dial it out to go the other way. And then, of course, the objective is to dial them in just perfect position so that it makes flat. Sitting on top of this will be plexiglass dust protection, and sitting on top of that will be a cerium oxide auto feed system because it's going to run 24/7, 365. It never comes to a stop. So the cerium has to be auto fed. And then sitting on top of that will be a couple of security cameras that I could look at anytime I want, make sure nothing's gone haywire. All right.
If we're looking at that, it's upside down.
It is not upside down.
Okay.
Oh, the conditioners are upside down,
Okay.
but everything else is as is.
Okay.
Those conditioners, I've already ground those glass They're steel tube conditioners. They weigh about 50 pounds. They have glass pieces on it that actually rub on the pitch. And I had to grind the 3 of those together and make them flat. And then once they start running on the pitch, they will polish.
What's the max mirror size?
The biggest I can put inside this will be 12-inch. So I can have as large as a 12-inch optical flat or optical window, or as large as an 8.5-inch minor axis secondary mirror. Or I can have 3 6-inch secondary mirrors in one of them, or I can have 7 4-inch secondary mirrors in them, or I can have 12 1.5-inch secondary mirrors. So I can do one at a time or bulk numbers in each one of those. All right, that was my project. And so the next one up is going to be Tim Clark, and he's going to show us. Do you want me to say it or you want to surprise him? He's going to show us some solar scope and stuff.
So give me a moment to move my gear over to where we can see it. But meanwhile,
We could try to use this wireless camera if you want.
okay. Meanwhile, Ed, you roped me into this. So while I'm doing that setup, you introduce how this whole solar projection scope these projects got started, were the genesis of it, if you would, please.
Sure. Back in the eclipse of 2017, there was a professor at Charleston College in North Carolina who ran some workshops for kids on creating these little solar projection devices out of cardboard and real cheap glass. You could make one for about $10, $15. And the idea with those things was simply to look at the eclipse safely without having to look at the sun. If you ever want to see what he did, you can go online. His name was Terry Richardson. It's at North Carolina, Charleston College, North Carolina. There's some video of all the stuff that he did. I was poking around on the internet one day when I discovered him, and I got the idea of using him up at Sky Mountain to look at sunspots. But of course, to look at sunspots with a device like this, you want to have a sharp image. And the images that he was creating there for the kids in North Carolina were just to see the eclipse. And they weren't focused enough to be able to see a sunspot. So I got together with Jeff, and he and I got to talking about it. So we started using some better optics, stuff off of old refractors and Barlow lenses, and stuck them together and started experimenting. And we came up with a real nice image of the sun, which was about 3 to 4 inches in diameter. And we could see very clearly sunspots. So we built those 2 devices that you already saw in a previous picture that Jeff was showing, they had the blue covers on them. After that, Tim got interested in them, and he made this very fascinating one. It's a variation of what we were doing, but has some very clever, I think, additions to it. So that's my intro to you, Tim. Take it.
Okay, thanks, Ed. And thank you for kind of introducing this to me, because it has been fun and very useful.
Necessary. I can just grab one of those cameras.
So y'all get the premise of this solar projection scope. It has a 60 millimeter objective here.
That's it. Grab your scope, just lift it up. Will this work better on the camera?
Yeah, we can see it better now.
Yeah, that works. I can see it from the thing there. I'll see if I can draw this.
Make sure that back end doesn't slide.
Okay, does that look good?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better? I think that'll work.
Yeah.
The producers in Hollywood should take a note of all the activity here tonight. So yeah, basically, I crafted this in my shop from donated material. Jeff gave me the objective that got me started. There's an 1.25-inch Barlow mounted in here. And this length between the objective and the Barlow is kind of precise. You have to get that focus. And then the image of the sun of the chromosphere will project itself onto this white paper. And Eric's going to show you an image, I think, of a sample, but quite simply, that image allows any of the observers to not have to look at the sun or have glasses, but look actually in the opposite direction of the sun. And here's an image I caught in earlier November of some little sunspot family moving across the surface of the sun. So it's been great to just take out into the backyard and observe sunspots. And then Ed also shared with me, and maybe some of you have, I've got a phone app that shows sunspot activity. And it's amazing that you check it out on your phone, it's exactly the same image. It's a little tough to see some of the images, some of the sunspots that are right on the periphery. It gets a little distorted there. I think it's, Jeff, you explained to me why that might be, that why the perimeter of this is not, is it the quality of the optics?
Well, you gotta admit, these are the cheapest of telescope parts. I mean, these are hand-me-down 60mm f/15 refractive optics. They were never meant to be fantastic. But for projecting the sun, they do quite good. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just not picking up the sunspots when they first emerge from.
when they're coming off that limb, though, you're not looking at them straight on. You're looking at them at an angle. That you gotta remember, it's round. So you are looking at it at an oblique angle. So of course it's gonna be fuzzy. If they come around, then you're looking more of a.
Yeah. So it's not perfect, but boy, it sure is fun to watch them and to see them. Just and then we went to Earth Day at Victory Park this last summer, and I had just built this, and this idea also to add this prism. I don't know if y'all can see the prism, the 6-inch prism that's mounted in here. So it's also getting those sun rays coming through here, and then it's dispersing that spectrum down onto this other piece of white paper here. And then I've added the full electromagnetic spectrum diagram here. So now you've got a perfect learning aid or teaching tool to show folks and kids, whoever, sunspots. You can talk all about the solar dynamics, the reason for sunspots. Then you can also talk to them about the electromagnetic spectrum, the visible light spectrum. It's just a really simple, easy teaching tool. And I've learned a lot just having it myself and kind of playing around with it. So again, thanks, Ed, for getting me started here. And I hopefully will make another edition of this or modify this one. My as you see, it's kind of all collapsible and folds down. But my idea is to now cut it in half and put it hinge here. So the whole thing now collapsed down into about a 3-foot format. So
Very cool.
that's our solar scope. So thank you.
Wow.
Did you have any other slides? You had.
The announcements, they were, you already did that.
Okay.
All righty, thank you, Tim. Our next speaker is President Mikey.
Soon to be ex-president. That little boy over there.
It rotates, so.
You're on now.
Let me get a little bit closer.
You're on candid camera.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that one of the most enjoyable things about being an amateur astronomer is when you have an opportunity or need to build something, and you're looking at, like Bob's redoing his telescope, and you can see all the different ways these telescopes can be made. And then I'm looking at over there as well with the solar scope. I mean, it's ingenious. And then I look at Jeff, well, he's in another planet as far as building stuff, but it's pretty amazing. So anyway, a lot of you know that I have a 32-inch telescope. I think it all started during the Spanish Inquisition. It seems that way. It's just been going on and on. I can't kill the project. But anyway, the latest part right now, and it started about a little over a year ago, is to put a drive system on this. And in a big telescope like that, it's really nice when you're standing on a ladder not to have to watch an image of whatever go through the eyepiece and disappear. So by the time you get down for someone else to look in there, it's gone, and it really presents a problem. So anyway, I thought, okay, this is great. Jeff's been working on a project on his 24-inch, and he started out with the, what was it? The ServoCat? What was it called? ServoCat. That's one of the older designs, and it had a lot of inherent problems. One was it was cable driven. You couldn't put a clutch on it. And the purpose of a clutch is so you can move the telescope without getting down the ladder, releasing a lever so you can move it, and then locking it and go up and hope to God that it's where you left it. And so a newer version came out, and that's Sidereal Tech, and they're out of Portland. Mel Bartels, your buddy over there, was involved in that. And Jeff's been working with that, and it has a lot of advantages. The advantages is that you use a direct drive system with either rollers, pulleys, gears, whatever you want to use, but it works. Now, when I went to do this, I thought, this is great. I'm just going to buy everything for once. Heck, it'll be easy. So I call the guy over there and he says, okay, so I'm going through the list of what I need. And then I say, and you have a clutch, right? And he says, yep, we got a clutch, but it's been discontinued because it has a lot of problems. Well, when are you going to have it? 9 months, I'll have it for you. So I waited. I called, no, too many problems. We've discontinued the whole thing. So now I've got to come up with a clutch. So then I started thinking about all the possibilities. And I felt like one of the Dodge brothers back in 1910 trying to build a car. And you would think a clutch would be so easy to make, but it's not. There's a lot of factors you have to think about. And this is what Jeff and I kick back all the time. So anyway, there's a couple of ways you can use one clutch, put it inside the mirror box, not the mirror box, but inside the rocker box. And from there, you can use the drive system. Now, this is the altitude bearing only. That's the one that goes up. Now, Jerry, are you awake? Okay, thank you. Okay. It gets worse. So you can do it with the clutch, one clutch, or you can do two clutches. You can put them outside on either side of the mirror of the rocker box. That's a little better in the sense that you've got dual control. If you just use one drive system, it's like driving a car with only the axle driving one wheel. And it just doesn't work as well. So if you do two, it's much better. You're less likely to skip, less torque on, just a lot of problems that you eliminate. If you use the one clutch to begin with, but two drive system, that works. But then the problem is the clutch has to be small to fit in there. Now you're using an excessive amount of force so that the clutch doesn't slip. And the purpose of the clutch in the first place is to be able to move the telescope anytime you want without using drive motors, because that's a racket. It's hard. It makes a big noise. It's annoying as can be. And they're slow. And this one, you can just move it like the telescope never had a drive system. It's perfect. But getting a clutch to work is a real issue. And so the more I got into it, the more complicated it got. And there's certain things, and I'll get into something else in just a moment with this. So anyway, what I came up with is I'm going to use, like I did with when I bored you guys to death with the 40-inch sprocket that I built. That was for the lower part. This uses two sprockets with chains, and very small chains it's like, I think, for a mini bike. And you have one on each side of the telescope. It turns it and it goes down. It's geared down and it goes to a common shaft. And then that goes into your drive motor. And there's stepper motors. Stepper motors, if you're not familiar with them, if you use direct current from batteries, which is what we use, if you use a regular motor, it's really inconsistent. As the power goes down, it slows down. It may not always run at the same rate when you put it under a load. So those don't work, DC motors. So a stepper motor is designed so that it goes at a speed, wherever you design it to do. You can control it, but regardless of the battery power within its working range, it will work. So that's the way they set it up. Everything's fine there. So now we're going ahead and designing this thing. And here's the kicker. Okay. When you put the clutch together, you want it to be smooth. As soon as you start to move the telescope, the common problem is a thing called stiction. Stiction is where you compress two objects together. When it stays for a long period of time, it tends to stick. And that's a real problem. If you have stiction on your clutches and you want to move the telescope to recenter an object, even a little bit, you got to use a lot of force. And as soon as it releases, it goes boink and it just slips. You got all kinds of problems, and it can keep going. On a really lucky day, it's conceivable. It could blow your telescope, and as soon as you release the stiction, that telescope goes all over the place. So these are issues you have to address. Thanks to Bob Creaky, Dave Creaky, excuse me, from the Session Telescopes. He's got some wonderful, I think he has a whole chapter on friction. And it turns out the best things that work are Teflon on either FRP, which is fiberglass reinforced plastic, and aluminum in itself. I've got aluminum on this system here, and I'll show you guys in just a minute. It works really well. And so anyway, I put it all together, and then I said, all right, I'm going to call the guy over there in Oregon. I'm going to order everything except the clutches. And he says, well, are your clutches, do you have clutches? Because we're not making them. And I said, I know. And I said, I made them. I think it's okay. And he says, well, do you have problems with stiction? I said, I don't think so. I think I worked it out. And he says, well, what did you do? Because that's why we discontinued them. And I said, well, what were you using? Cork. Well, you can press cork, it's going to deform. And when it deforms, it sticks. I mean, it's insane. It just doesn't work. And I said, did you ever read Creaky's book? Who's Dave Creaky? You know, I mean, that's like the Bible of telescope making for Dobsonians. Everything I haven't gotten it yet, about a week ago. And so anyway, I just wanted to show you what I came up with. And I've got two of them. And am I there? Yeah. Okay. So this is the little beast here. I don't know if I can do this. Can you hold that phone, Jeff? Okay. So the way it works on the outside, this is a sprocket. Okay. And there's two of them, one for each side of the telescope. And it's got some pressure plates. And in the center are Teflon, 4 Teflon squares. And here is an aluminum plate. And then over here, this is the key. This is an aluminum rod, solid rod. And there's a piece of rubber. It happens to be radiator hose. And it fits beautifully on that. This is going to rub against the large altitude bearing. And this is where the friction occurs. And as this thing turns, it turns the telescope. Now you want it to slip when you move the telescope, and you adjust it so it's not too tight or too loose. And that's what this does. And this just tightens it or loosens it. When it's loose, everything turns. Well, anyway, everything turns except the sprocket, because you don't want that to turn. Okay. As you tighten it up, it gets stiffer and stiffer to the point where you can't move it. But the key is when you turn it, there's no stiction. It's just, Teflon's kind of greasy. And greasiness means that it never really sticks. So when you move it, it's great. It has one other benefit that I learned from David Creaky, and that is the faster you move it, the more friction it creates, which is exactly what you want. So if your telescope has a strong breeze, or if you're moving it, it doesn't get away from you. It actually slows it down. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. But in situ right here, or CITO, it works pretty well. And we'll see what happens on that. So next time around, I'll show you the new design. This doesn't work. I'll bore you with that one. Any questions? Oh, come on, there's got to be one. Why did I do it in the first place? Yeah, because I would really like to have a drive system. So when we have people at the star parties, they can actually look through there without me having to align it every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes on that. But I think the system will work pretty well. And the next thing I have to do is figure out the gearing systems and the ratios. And then also from the drive motor to the axle, I've got to gear that down and do it without backlash. And backlash is just the flop in the gears as they mate. And if there's a little bit of backlash in there, then you have problems. So I have to come up with something more sophisticated than what most people are using.
What we're seeing is how the chain system performs. I haven't seen chain systems on personal telescopes. I'm really excited to see how that performs.
I don't think you're gonna get a lot of backlash with the chain and the sprocket either.
There's going to be none.
Yeah.
Maybe not, especially on the 40-inch sprocket. There's 512 teeth. I doubt very much if there's going to be any slop in that. But even on the smaller ones here, it should be pretty good, and especially having 2 rather than just 1. That's a great way to eliminate some of those problems.
Yeah.
And this is just one little tiny part of the whole scope. I mean, everything is a major issue when you try to do that. We had to redo the mirror mount, come up with a new design on that. So it worked, and it worked very well.
So the scope of a horse.
Yeah, that's the point.
So the
person that you're buying the rest of the material from going to give it to you for solving his problem?
Nobody wants the information on it. I haven't given it to him yet.
He was, but when Mike said, he's the guy who makes obsession telescopes, he said, what's that?
Yeah. And this guy, they're selling these exotic telescope drives. And I'm wondering why they can't make, and this is why they can't make this work.
This isn't the owner of the company, this is the guy that works for them.
Okay.
He's the easiest guy to deal with.
But he's supposedly the engineer that makes all this stuff.
So the thing is, the engineer probably doesn't know anything about astronomy. He's just an engineer.
And if you're thinking about it, here you're paying $800 for a clutch, you get it and it doesn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
So I'd be more than happy, if this works, I'd be more than happy to share it with him, so he'll build it so the next guy doesn't have to go through all of it. Tim?
Mike, the clutch assembly again, it's Teflon and aluminum.
Yeah.
That I believe is the same material that's matched up in our altitude clutches on our Orion Dob.
Yeah, it can be. If this one, go ahead, Jeff, what?
Yeah, well,
They're Teflon on.
Plastic, some sort of plastic.
Yeah.
It's cheap plastic. Yeah,
is that what it is?
yeah. In the old days, all the quality Dobbs were made with Teflon and aluminum. And then after that, they quit doing it because it was too expensive.
The real quality clutching was the clutches that came on Edward R. Byers clock drives.
That was the ultimate.
Was it? I don't know, Bakelite?
It was aluminum and some sort of hard old plastic. It was probably Bakelite. It was superb. The smoothness, there was no stiction. Yeah, there was no stiction, anything. But this is a fairly close approximation. If you guys want to fool around with this, you can just see how smooth it is that when you do that. But anyway, so. Oh, okay.
That's stacked.
What's up, Michael? Anyone have any questions on the outside?
Yeah, I was asking if the drive system was like a go-to mount, because I've actually been researching.
Yeah,
I've been
this will be-
trying. I've been trying to put my Dob tube, or looking into putting my Dob tube on a go-to mount to start doing astrophotography.
Yeah, this particular unit pretty much does everything, doesn't it, Jeff? If I remember right.
Well,
Yes,
to
go.
go to, you have to have a device that does, I mean.
Yeah, but I
your
do,
device
but
doesn't go to,
Yeah.
but Your Argo Davis.
Yeah, but and then there's another unit that attaches to that, which the one I'm using is Argo Navis.
Go to would actually drive it over.
Yeah, I don't want to use that. It's much quicker just to push it. But the Argo Navis will do that. You can move it until all the numbers end up zero once you program in where you want to go. And it's much easier and quicker to do it that way. Using these stepper motors, I don't particularly care for
Servo
them.
motors.
Servo. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, servo motors. Okay. Anyway, so that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So we'll see what happens on that. So if there aren't any other questions, I'll have Jeff introduce.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Jason Keys is going to share with us. I take it as astrophotography.
Yes, what was I did this year? No, it's. What's that?
I said, there's your microphone.
Okay, let's see. I have a few that I did this year. Give me a moment to share it out here. And start at number 1. Eric can go up from 1 to 7. I think they're just listed backwards on the screen there. For the dials.
Well, let's see what we get.
No, if you go down, scroll down. Well, that's okay. I'll just.
No, that's all right.
Oh, yeah. That one, yeah.
Okay, I think you're ready again.
Yeah, so I just have like astrophotography, and I was able to get out times this year and get some images and process some of them. I think they all need a lot more work than I've done, but I'll share them nonetheless. This first one is the IC 1396, is the Elephant Trunk Nebula is in there. It's in Cepheus. I did this back in May with a super old Canon 300D that I had modified by Hap Griffin about 10 years ago. I didn't know if I was going to keep using this camera, but it came in handy. And that one, it's about 1 hour and 24 minutes. I was playing around with really short exposures. When I lived back east, I would always do long exposure and try and get like 600 seconds or 300 seconds, but these are all 8 or 60-second exposures to get image here. That was about 2,400 light years away. I was using a William Optics 61 millimeter, so it's about 360 millimeter focal length for that on a Star Adventure tracking mount.
So that's a big object, isn't it?
That's a really big object. I think there's a little bit more to it that I couldn't capture there. And then the big bright red star is the go-to star. And I use that to find the object because this isn't a go-to system. I had to find all this stuff, which is more fun to me. I like go-to, but it's fun finding the objects as well. And then we'll skip to the next one. This is one of my favorite ones that I did this year. This is NGC 7023, the Iris Nebula. It's a reflection nebula that's also in Cepheus. It's about 1,300 light years away. I spent, I think, 3 nights on this one, 2 in May and 1 in at the beginning of July. So it's about 4 hours and 4.3 hours of imaging time. It's 120 second exposures. I used a Canon 600D for this one, is not modified. And I had this one on my C-Gem, and I used a Skywatcher 72 millimeter. That's a 420 millimeter focal length with a field flattener. It's a little bit, didn't quite get the edges, but it did well enough. I was happy with this one. Still has some banding in it because those Canon cameras do that, but maybe I can process it out later. And next. Oops. And this one, I'm sure everybody saw this, was the blood moon lunar eclipse that we had back in May. I shot this in the backyard with that Skywatcher 72 with the 600D at ISO 800, and it was 1/3 of a second. And then it was kind of cool because the clouds were coming through and the reflection made those clouds show up. So I really liked that image. Go to the next one. This, of course, is M81 and M82 Bode's Nebula. That's up there in Ursa Major. The M81 is a spiral galaxy and M82 is an irregular galaxy. I did this back in April. I had just gotten the William Optics Z61, and so I was just testing it out. And that's 96 45-second exposures with the Canon 600D on the front. Skip to the next one. This is probably my favorite image, even though it doesn't have anything super exciting in it. This is a Markarian's chain that's in the heart of the Virgo cluster. It has lots of galaxies in there, like M86, M87, 88, 89, 91. The eyes, the NGC 4435 and 4438, and a bunch of other NGCs. And the big galaxy that's in the bottom center is M87. That is the one that the physicist found the black hole in, and they imaged a few years back. This was 338 60-second exposures, so I did really short exposures, but spent a lot of time on it. And you can see it was 3 nights. That's why I have 3 pieces that are, don't fit together quite right, because I was not using a tracking mount. I had to find it manually, and I guess I didn't get them quite right, but when I cut it out, it'll be nice and rectangular. Anyway, next one. So this is a spectacular image, which I didn't take myself. I did, however, go to the Hubble Legacy Archive and downloaded the FITS files for this. So I was able to get the a couple of UV images. There was a green, a blue, and an IR. I think the IR was 814 nanometers. The green was 555. The blue was 438, and the 2 UVs were 336 and 275 respectively. And then I just wanted to sort of learn how to mix channels, color channels. So that was a project that I did that I was super happy with the way this one came out. If only we could do this from our backyard and not outer space, I would be super happy. But anyway, that is, sorry, that's M90. If you go back to the Markarian's chain, I can show you where it is because that's one of the galaxies in Markarian's chain.
You should have just told us that you blew up that.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I did another one from the Hubble Legacy Archive, but I didn't quite finish it, so I didn't make it into this presentation. And then the last image I have there is one that some of you may have seen because I shared it recently. And it's the Sol Nebula. It's an IT-48 that's in Cassiopeia. And I did 2 nights on this one. Half of them I did while I was on the 29th of October, and the other half I did at home in my backyard. And I had never really imaged with filters before, so I used an L-Pro filter while I was out at Highway 4, and then in my backyard I have a L-Enhanced filter that I was able to use, and then I combined 70 times 120 and 70 times 120 for 140, 120 second exposures to get this. Might be a little too bright and the stars are a little bloated. I'm still working on it, but it was fun testing out those filters, and hopefully I can continue and get some better images this coming year. Finally upgrading to a dedicated Astrocam. So
what are those filters?
an L-Pro filter, it's like a luminance filter, but it blocks mercury and sodium light.
Oh.
And then the L-Enhance, it's supposed to block everything. I don't know if it's 12 or 7 nanometers, but everything except for hydrogen beta, hydrogen alpha, and sodium. So it really darkened the background and let me get the nebulosity there. Since I'm, in a light polluted backyard, it helped a lot. I think the ones from Highway 4, even though it wasn't, as intense of a filter, those photos came out better than the ones that I did in the yard with the higher intensity blocking. So darkness matters. And that's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. 90.
Sorry?
Yeah.
You'll go back there, right?
Jason, you got files from the Hubble
Legacy Archive.
Okay, so you're taking narrowband files and then stacking them on Photoshop together? Or
Yeah,
how's that done?
So I create, some layers, color channel layers, and then I'll put one for red. I'll name them red, green, and blue. Instead of the IR, I just named that one red because it was at that end of the spectrum. So that was my red, and then the green was the 555, and the blue I think was 438. And I combined those to create a color image, and then there was a couple of UV ones that they had as well that had some different aspects of the image, and then I added those in after the fact. And then if you look at the raw data, it's just like a dot on the screen. All you can see is the core, and then I just stretched it and pulled it like I do with other images once I combine them together to bring the color out and be able to see all of the bands inside of the galaxy. But all that Hubble Legacy Archive data is there. It's free. You get the FITS files, and there's something called FITS Liberator that you can use to extract the data out of the FITS files. It's super awesome.
I take it you could use these to literally discover things,
You could, yeah, absolutely.
and then you get credit for the discovery and share it with them.
If you did, and a fellow that I work with, his wife actually with the James Webb Space Telescope. I don't know if any of you saw one of the galaxies that was this. I don't remember what his wife's name is, but she actually got credit from NASA because they've seen all of the Hubble Legacy Archive images that she's been processing, and they contacted her to do the James Webb Space Telescope image with some of the first galaxies that have happened. So those were her from their photographs. It was really cool.
That is cool.
I thought, yeah.
Well, thank you, Jason. That brings us to Eric.
Okay, give me a second here to try and connect my wireless camera here. Did not work. So, yeah.
You're on microphone, right?
Yeah. Give me a moment here. Let me close this out. Restart it. Of course, it's not working. Give me a second.
I love it when tech guys have computer problems.
Yes. Very satisfying.
It's like, it is, it's like, oh, yeah.
So they are mortal.
I hope their problems are real bad. I could say that because
He does so much for it,
Tech-
but yeah.
tech guys are always saving me. I really should watch what I'm saying.
Seems like. And it took about 5 minutes to figure it out.
All right. So I'm gonna walk around like. Go here. So this is my 5-inch reflector. Let me open it up here, and I think it's actually, it's from Farmers Without Borders. But I believe it's made by Skywalker.
You want me to hold the camera while you're working with it? So you're both hands?
You're not qualified.
I know, I'm not. That wasn't the question. I actually wanted you to.
Okay. So what I ended up creating for this scope, well, this is sort of my test scope where I practice things on it. And what I ended up doing was I made, you see this little thing right here? So I put a little magnetic sensor on here. Let me try and take this off. Looks like that right there, a little chip in there. And right on the end of this bolt is a little magnet. And so as the scope rotates, it's tracking the position, but it's not tracking with any motors or anything. So also down here is another one for the azimuth. Again, there's a little magnet down in there. You can see it on top of the little bolt there. And I have it hooked up to a little Arduino right here. Let me turn it on. And so this is acting like a little digital setting circle. So it comes on here. And it will default to 0 the position out. And so right now it's going to bounce between 359 and 0. But as I rotate this, so I'm going to angle it down. You see there that the amplitude went down to 284. I rotate it around, the azimuth is going up, 1819. So AZ is azimuth, AL is altitude. And so the idea here, though, is it doesn't have a computer where you're actually aligning to stars in the normal sense, just a push to. And so what the idea is I orient this to, let's say, the North Star. Then I can come back down here, 0 out the position, so it's 0, 0. Then I can subtract, so we're at 38 degrees for our altitude position. So so the idea is here would be subtract 18 degrees so that it's back down to 0 position, 0 it out. Now, all I have to do is look up the position of any object on like a phone app and then move it to that position.
It's cool.
That's awesome.
Really, really good.
So yeah, I can show you the code if you want. It's not very sophisticated. I'm sorry?
The board, the standard.
Just standard Uno?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, let me stop sharing of the scope there.
It's cool, Eric.
Eric, could that be used in lieu of a,
But you can couple the motors on that and then.
It is acting like, it is an inverter. Yeah.
Within 10 minutes or 30 minutes of an hour.
Yeah, so here's the code. Let me share it out to the group. Oops, hold on. Second here, right here. Okay, so.
Oh, yeah.
So the magnetic sensor is 14-bit. So if you take 2 to the 14, it is 16,384 positions, which means you can get down to a 0.0219 degree increment. But yeah, so it's pretty sensitive. But I just have the output into the nearest degree. And it's not that much code. A lot of the code, that's it. Much of the code is just enabling the sensors here. I've defined the red color of the LCD there. This is just a couple strings that I want to appear on the LCD display. Telling it what position on the LCD display to be. But all I really have is start the sensors going here, read the current position and zero it out. And then I also have a button press here for the select to zero it out again manually. So I'm gonna do that.
Sensor.
Wow.
The component is a it's a AS550 48B. So it's that means it. Oh. It's from a company called AMS.
That came right after
the AMS, so this is the model of the little chipboard right here, this AS5048B. The 48B means it's using the I2C protocol. And that means that it only needs 4 wires to connect to the board. You have your 5 volts for power, 0 volts for your negative, and then 2 other wires for the signals to read and write the data.
So built into the board is like, I have it on stack, I like the gyroscope in it, and I can,
Yeah.
I can do this with it, and I wrote a program and it'll tell me keep them all on the screen or whatever.
Yeah.
So is something like that work? I mean, like, is there another piece to it that when you turn it, like it's sensing what you're doing, or is it just the program?
The board is sensing the movement in relation to the magnet that's on the end of the bolt.
Okay.
Did you see the bolt that I showed the bolt?
You probably didn't.
Okay. So I turn it off. There we go. Is everybody at home seeing the wireless camera moving?
No, I'm looking at code.
It says screen share.
He's looking at, yeah, he's looking at code, he said.
Although the code to me is just as interesting as the scope.
Screen one. Here we go.
So Eric, while you're getting that going, is that entire program just a series of if else statements in Java, or is that C++?
No, there's no if else's. Can you see the camera now?
No, sir.
Michael? No. You're still looking at the code?
No, I'm looking at Jeff and Bill and everybody else.
Oh, I didn't actually share it.
There we
How
go.
about now? Okay.
Yep, you're good.
So yeah, there's no if else's. So again, there's like a magnet on the end of that bolt, on the altitude bolt. And there's a magnet on the one down here on the azimuth. I mean, yeah, on the azimuth. So as this one turns in the azimuth direction, the sensor board is turning in relation to the magnet. The bolt I have stationary. If I lift this up, And 3D, can you hold that for me? Dan? Like that? Hang on, I got it. I don't know if you can see it down here. So here's the bowl head. I 3D printed this whole little spider thing here to keep this bolt in place. And I epoxied it to this spider. Now you might ask, why did I do that? Because I'm a stickler. You can put it down. I'm a stickler for keeping things stock. I want to return back to normal. So I didn't want to glue to the base. Epoxy it right to the bottom of the base. So I 3D printed that piece to epoxy here. The other thing that I 3D printed were these brackets, that whole little black piece there and that piece up here. I 3D printed those. Attached the little circuit board to that bracket. And I have these little magnetic, so this whole thing can come off if I want to be able to adjust the tension on the azimuth here. And I have these little, you see the little magnet piece stuck glued to here. I have a magnet on this piece.
So there's a nylock nut just to have the right tension on it?
Yeah, exactly. On this one.
And is that thing being held on magnetically too, or?
The magnet is just,
No, how are you attaching that thing you just put on?
Yeah, that was two
Yeah,
magnets.
there's two magnets.
Okay, that's what that.
There's that whole magnetic sheet right there on this bottom.
Yeah.
And then the little magnetic piece right here. Similarly on the azimuth. It's stuck like that. But I have that piece going. Light's not very good here, is it? I have this kind of that comes off as well.
The calcium field from those other magnets doesn't disturb your encoder magnet.
No.
I didn't do anything.
Nope, couldn't. So again, as I'm turning it around, the numbers are going up. But all it is, so I guess I should mention this, the Arduino is operating at a clock frequency. So the code is just continually looping at that frequency. I forget what the frequency is, but so it is constantly reading the position of the magnet and then just outputting it to the display. That's all it's doing. So there's no if else's or anything like that. This is just a constant running loop.
It's just reading those positions constantly.
Constantly.
Updates at the clock.
Correct. Yeah. So if you're not moving the position, then the number shouldn't be changing at all. And it's pretty accurate. The only thing that so it doesn't always go right to the object, but it's always pretty much within a field of view. And I think it could have been made more accurate when I was doing my testing by making sure that the base was level, which I didn't do. I think if the base was perfectly level, it'd probably go right to the object every time. And you don't have to always align to the North Star. You can pick any object, pick a planet, whatever the position is, look it up on your phone, and then subtract your numbers from here as you're moving down, and then zero it out again. You should be back at 0, 0.
So if you're pointing at an object and you know its location, you can push that into the encoder and then you'll start at that position.
So you can't punch the position in, but you have to, whatever the position is currently showing, is add or subtract the position accordingly, move it up or down accordingly, so that you're back basically at 0 and then zero it out.
Can you
Then go back to any other object you want on your phone. Look at any other object on your phone and go to that new position.
you can use that to do your daytime planet finding.
You can. Yeah. So that's the encoder. So I got a series of wires here, series of wires down here. Oh, so I should mention here. So the Arduino is this very bottom layer. Then I have a battery pack shield or hat, which fits on top of that. So that's a second layer. So I have a little LiPo battery here. I just switch it on. The next board up here is a board just to be able to solder to and hook up wires to and get all the wires going from both the azimuth and altitude. Then the very top layer is the LCD display. Then I have a little bus module over here that I created. So I could have all the 5 volts and 0 volts going to the correct locations. Just tap into this little board. And the other thing about I2C, the protocol that I'm using, is every board has to have its own unique address. So some of these other wires are to give plus or minus bit positions to the address, so that one is like address 40 and the other one's like address 41. So as the Arduino is communicating to the boards, it is communicating to each one appropriately. Because the way that I2C works, this is all just a single bus, where every signal is operating on that bus, and then it knows how to go to the right board by the address. So a couple other things I made for the scope is I made these little guys here. I 3D printed these. These are, see, things here are as a shroud. Can you hold this for me? Let me just put this vertical here. So I have this guy here. You got an idiot. I was able to cut out for the eyepiece. And we'll just slide in here. If we're gonna do it this way. Hook up, slide it up. And have another one here for the bottom. And then I also have made a, just hold it here. I would have used made a 3D printed a tri-button of man. And just a couple times. Pick it away. There we go. You can do it on the veins. And if you're not familiar with the tri-button of mask, it's like a normal one, except there's 3 iterations of it. And so the idea is you can turn this and have it oriented to your collimation bolts. So not only does it help with focusing, but it'll help with collimating. But what you can do is you can get 1 or 2 in focus, cover each bolt area on the mask in relation to the bottom of your primary mirror. And if only one of them is in focus, the other 2 aren't, then you're not collimating. So you can cover one, adjust your bolts until it's in focus, and then move on to the next one. So that's the advantage of a tri-button mask. So
That is cool.
that's it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Eric.
All right, so are there any other people who would like to present something? Have we run it dry yet? Going once, going twice, going E. That'd be 2.718, going 3 times, okay. All right, thank you to all of our presenters. And before I hand the microphone back to Mike, he was gonna ask me anyway, we ran another raffle for the, for Mike always gets a Starbucks card, and then it's my job to raffle it up. And Doug, you are again the winner of the Starbucks card. So congratulations for a $10 Starbucks card.
No, it's very scientific. He said, point to a number. I closed my eyes.
Yeah, right there. And he pointed to number 6.
Okay. You were the lucky.
Number 2.
Okay. All right.
Now somebody put their finger right on it.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, thank you all for some excellent presentations. It was a lot of fun. I hoping we'll get more people to attend these things with time. Yeah. But we did good. Yeah. I mean, here physically, but as we go to the next place over there at the county office, maybe it'll be a little bit better. So anyway, this is going to sound like Channel 6 and PBS. And so I want everybody, I'm trying to raise interest in our dinner that we're going to have in our, so anyway, to spice things up, I think we're going to have Andrea Bocelli and Tiny Tim singing astronomy songs here at the, and picture that, that should really be fun. I'm kidding, of course, but anyway. Well, that's all right. They do a lot of posthumous ones with Tiny Tim. Anyway, that being said, so I hope to see you all. Please see if you can attend and let Jerry know, and then we'll get a head count and see how many dinners we need. Because like I said, if you do not do this and show up at the door, probably we won't have food for you. But you can still attend and we'd love to have you, but it would be nice if we could all share in this. Okay, so with all that being said, I want to wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, be safe. I'm no longer going to be president, thank God. No, I mean, thank you all. No, it's been fun. I really enjoyed it. But my replacement, I think it's going to be more than satisfactory. It'll be wonderful. So God bless and take care, folks.
Good job, man. Take care, everybody.
Not everybody, thanks.
Night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna officially stop recording here.
We're gonna have cookies, you're not.
I have brownies, so that's okay.